Theories of learning are wide-ranging, and the construct of the learning process takes on a variety of forms. Learning is just plain common sense and happens naturally and heuristically, using one's prior learning experience as a guide for new learning. In layman's terms, the fundamentals of learning include gaining new knowledge, perceptions or skills, playing, memory, motivation, instruction, and practice. In the Learn Something New project, I will reflect on my experience through the following concepts and constructs: communities of practice, or COP, situative learning, zone of proximal development, scaffolding, what I call the continuum of competence and consciousness, tools and artifacts, transparency, embodied cognition, indexical and cultural context, heuristic, legitimate peripheral participation, just plain folks, newcomers versus old-timers, apprentice, peer, prime, and feedback. My journey in this Learn Something New project took me to several virtual communities of practice. My first venture was to learn how to beatbox by watching YouTube videos. In case you don't know what beatboxing is, here's an example of an expert.
Pare, pense,
Eu
reflita
sou
comigo. Somos egoístas porque só olhamos
Gustavo
pro nosso
Beatbox
umbigo.
e
Remix.
After my first week of daily practice, I slowly made progress using the tools and artifacts, which in this case are my breathing, mouth, and lips, but I was still very consciously incompetent. After a friend of mine found out that I was practicing beatboxing, and he casually showed me his skills, I knew I was a long ways away from achieving transparency. Although I had a community of practice, coined and described by Lave and Wenger as groups of people who share a concern or a passion for something they do and learn how to do it better as they interact regularly, this COP was lacking the regular face-to-face interactions because I was in a community of YouTube watchers, some of whom were just plain folks who are curious about beatboxing, some newcomers, and some old-timers. But we never met. Another challenge to having a COP was that I was learning on my own. I had tried to get one of my kids to learn with me, but they weren't interested, and was as was the case with my wife, who had no interest in making any kind of noise with her mouth, besides speaking and singing. This is me after 2 weeks of almost daily practice. Although it's important to learn from experts, this can be counterproductive if scaffolding is not provided. So even though it was inspiring to watch videos of old-timers beatboxing, it was also overwhelming to see such advanced skills. Thank goodness that I came across a series of leveled videos by a guy named Lin C that provided practice according to my ZPD. I also thought that what was lacking was a cultural connection between me and beatboxing. So when I stumbled across a Vietnamese beatboxer giving instructions on YouTube, I decided to view his instructional videos, seen here.
Âm kick roll thì có hai loại và được sử dụng khá phổ biến, và hai loại này thì cũng khá là dễ làm. Loại thứ nhất là đó là trước tiên các bạn hãy làm âm P hoặc là âm B, giống như các bạn làm snare mà không làm phần F và chỉ làm chữ P thôi. Hay.
Another tool that I drew on was the heuristic of prior experience. As a child, I came across a book about how to make different kinds of sounds with the mouth, such as horns, whistles, and clicking noises. It kept me busy for a while trying to learn those techniques. This experience helped me to transfer some of my prior knowledge into this new endeavor. I soon realized that despite consistent practice, I was not developing the transparency and unconscious competence that is required in becoming a proficient beatboxer. As they say in sports, my learning plateaued, so I ventured into another area of learning. For now, I occasionally beatbox when no one's around, and content that I am still a newcomer in the community of beatboxers. My second endeavor of learning was in dancing, again using virtual worlds to provide the situative learning environment and community of practice. This avenue took on three iterations. My initial virtual dancing experience occurred in Second Life. As you can see, I'm successfully dancing in SL, but don't be deceived, there was very little transparency of skills, since it didn't take any practice. I simply put my avatar in dance mode. There was absolutely no embodied cognition because I didn't have to move my body at all while my avatar was cutting the rug like mad. The second dancing experience was in Connect Fitness 2012. Here was the beginning of embodied cognition, as my body and mind had to work together to learn some tricky moves, and where my body became part of the tools and artifact in this learning experience. Here I was able to rely on heuristics and drew on the ballroom dancing class I took in college. Although the samba was new to me, having some dancing experience provided the needed cultural context. You can actually see yourself on the screen dancing next to the instructor. A true COP, however, was lacking in this experience, in that it was just me, the newcomer, and the instructor, the old timer. Also, a closer sense of COP was achieved, however, because my wife also learned with me. Here, she is learning some samba moves. Finally, my search for a better virtual COP led me to Connect Dance Central. From the legitimate peripheral participation perspective, this game provided the best COP experience. For instance, there's a crowd of practitioners cheering me on as I make my moves on the dance floor. I felt like an apprentice learning the dance craft from the experts, while being coached on by the voice and cheered on by the crowd. Although I haven't tried it, with Connect, you can go online and have dance competitions with other dancers virtually. ZPD support is built in with digital flashcards and icons that appear before each move to prime your next move. Feedback is indexical, as the dance coach provided positive and constructive feedback using motivating dance terminology.
So leave it. You getting there for real. Just keep at it and put it all together.
The best part of all about learning in the virtual world is that making mistakes is fun and rewarded with another attempt, and where success is instantly recognized. This is the beauty of learning through gamification. With this COP experience in a situative learning environment that is scaffolded in a working in my ZPD, this apprentice may be on his way in becoming a dancing old timer with transparency of skills and unconsciously competent.
5, 6, 7, 8. If you got it, get it. Just watch if you don't. 5, 6, 7, 8.